Hi everyone, welcome on this beautiful day here in Belgium, where I am based. Vikas Malkani is based in Singapore, and we have Adjiedj Bakas today, based from Amsterdam. Happy to have you here in this power webinar, already our 11th power webinar. We are waiting for a couple of minutes until everybody is connecting with our webinar. I'm really excited. This is our first 90 minutes webinar, but we will for sure need the time to get you in that roller coaster, going to the past, coming back in the present, going to the future, coming back in the present, and all for this simple question: what's happening now and why it's happening now? Is it karma and universal wisdom? You can already use the chat and tell me where you're from. So on the right side, please use the chat and let me know where you're from. Good morning, everybody from Brussels. Good afternoon from Singapore. Good evening from Sydney. Thank you for having you here. It's going to be a beautiful experience. And we are about to begin, and I will invite you, of course, the world's #1 wisdom coach, Vikas Malkani, and the world's #1 futurist of the Netherlands, maybe Europe, Adjiedj Bakas. Hello, India. Welcome. Hello, Vikas. You already joined us.
Hello, Maurice. Hello. How are you?
You are already excited.
I am. I'm super excited. That's how I live my life. I'm super excited.
I always forget to introduce myself. My name is Maurice van der Kant. I'm the CEO of Assembly Speakers, the first speakers bureau of Europe. And my mission started when I found out there's more happening in the world. And last year I launched the community bookingworldspeakers.com. Only focusing on purpose-driven speakers to make this world a better place. And you are one of them, Vikas. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to be on that platform because I believe that we are all here to make a difference to our life, our planet, and also to leave a legacy for the future. And I think that's the kind of work you're doing. You're bringing speakers and experts and authorities on with a message that is going to impact the world. So I'm honored and I'm proud to be a part of that group of people.
Yeah. Let us invite Adjiedj as well, please.
Absolutely.
Please come in if you still know where the buttons are, of course.
Well, okay. Hello. Good morning, evening, afternoon for everybody.
We also have Malaysia in our webinar. Welcome, Malaysia. And it's for you, your second webinar. We started this webinar a few weeks ago, Adjiedj, with Yuri van Geest, had the best-selling author of the Exponential Organizations, and that was a best start. And we are now already Power Webinar 11th. Yeah, 11th. So
you set a trend, Maurice.
Yeah, but I get the energy because it really feels good, and especially to introduce speakers from all over the world with one another. The beautiful thing is, of course, and is that karma? We never know, but exactly the same time last year, we two met each other. Huh?
Yes, that's really interesting, Adjiedj. It has been 1 year since we first met in Netherlands when I was there and I was doing the talks, and then you invited us to your beautiful home I call it a mini museum. It's so wonderful and it's so beautiful. And it's been a year, so it is in a way karma coming back.
Well, I call this period the age of karma capitalism, so that fits. That is.
I will be talking about that later on. Karma capitalism. I like that.
Yeah. And I still taste what we had for dinner, because we were only talking and forgot to eat, and you ordered, Adjiedj, a lot of Indian delicious dinner, of course.
But Vikas made the selection. But ladies and gentlemen, I asked my astrologer when the new Renaissance is going to start, and he says July 2024. So we have to survive till July 2024, then the new Renaissance is going to start with karma capitalism.
No, then we, in 90 minutes, we make the people ready what they have to do, what they can do today already after this webinar to create that beautiful new world. I always introduce my speakers and I go, who are you exactly? Because you have Indian blood, you have South American blood, but tell the people from Australia, Malaysia, Singapore.
Well, the Times of India, the newspaper, calls me a guy with roots in 3 continents. I was born and raised in South America in a small country called Suriname, which was a former colony of Holland. My ancestors were immigrants from India, so I'm Indian, but I am I'm one of the, in India they call it the PIO, people of Indian origin. And 30 years ago, I moved to Holland, so I'm Dutch, I'm Indian, I'm Latino, I'm all of it.
You are the world. So,
well, I'm a citizen of the world.
You're a citizen of the world. And what made you decide to become a futurist?
Well, I always, since I was a little boy, I wanted to envision what the future might look like, and I discovered that I had a talent for it.
Yeah. And who is your father? What did he do?
They were teachers. My mother and father were both teachers. So education. I had to read books from a young age on, and I love reading. And now I write the books. So
that's the connection. We keep on learning this time. Of course, a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are in fear. We invite you, of course, in this experience. Okay, what is happening? Coming back to Vikas, of course. No, wait a second. Adjiedj, do you still know the first time we met?
Of course, I'm old, but I'm not suffering from dementia yet.
I think it was the moment that we were 5 years after 9/11. I think the day in The Hague that we had a lunch together 5 years after 9/11. Also a moment where we were thinking what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So maybe we see in this webinar some connections. Coming back to Vikas, and we all know Vikas very well. I don't have to introduce you, of course. Your world is full of wisdom. You spread positivity. You are Mr. Wisdom. And of course, I still remember the day we met in Los Angeles. So tell me more about it. And you were giving and sharing an audience of how many people? Loads of people from all over the world. Life lessons. Tell me more about it. And do you still know the moment that you met me?
Yes, I remember the moment we met, Maurice, because I remember I was in the USA, in Los Angeles, in the land of Hollywood, as I call it. And I was there to do what I do everywhere I go every day of my life, which is to share the wisdom that we need to live our life by and run our businesses by. And that's the purpose of my life. You correctly you correctly said that you are wisdom. That's the word that rules my life. So I was in the USA on invitation by a conference called the Mega Success Conference, which was 2,500 plus entrepreneurs and business people and coaches and experts from around the world. And they invited me to come and share wisdom secrets with them on how they should live their life and run their business. So what I did is I shared 3 stories and I gave 3 lessons from that. And after that, I met a whole bunch of amazing, wonderful people, but the most wonderful of them was you.
No, we are not spreading fake news, Vikas. Thank you for the content.
And since then, we developed a friendship and we developed a working partnership. And I'm so proud of the work that you do, Maurice. You are dedicated to changing the world and changing people with people's stories. And I'm so happy to also be a part of that movement. So thank you.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Vikas. Let's start this beautiful experience. And I would like to give you the word, Vikas, because I think, where do we all start? What's happening today?
Yeah, I think Maurice, thank you. I think the best place to start is by looking at what's happening in the world today. You know, wisdom says that the most important part of our life is the present moment. So we need to look at what we are going through today and to be able to see what it really is. Wisdom also says that you must accept reality. So no illusion, no delusion. Accept reality as it is. And the reality of today, the way I see it, is that we are going through what I call, in my words, an evolutionary crisis. So it is a crisis, but according to me, it's an evolutionary crisis. It's helping us to grow up. It's helping us to become better human beings and run better systems, to understand better models of our life and our business. Because frankly speaking, according to my perspective, the model that we are living on is a broken model. It doesn't work. And I can explain that from a wisdom perspective. So we need to look at the models that we are running. In our economy, we are working with broken models. On governments and citizens level, we are working with broken models. And on a personal life level, every individual living their life, we are working with a broken mindset model. So it's not going to work. It's not going to sustain. We'll have more pain and more suffering if we do not change. So this is coming to us as an evolutionary crisis. It is a crisis, no doubt, but it is an evolutionary crisis. It's meant to make us grow bigger and better.
Thank you, Vikas. Adjiedj, I get you back again. What's your opinion about that? Why is this all happening today?
It is happening because it is time for it. It is time for it to happen. But I think, and in the near future, we are now experiencing lockdowns here in the West, but in Asia, they had it with the SARS epidemic. I think it was 20 years ago or 18 years ago. And in Africa, they had it with the Ebola pandemic. So for us, it is new to live in a time of lockdown, but I think we will have to get used to it because there are so many viruses attacking us all over the world. So I think in the next 100 years, we will have to learn to live from lockdown to lockdown, and in between we are free. So we really have to change the way we live, we work, the way we connect now.
Yeah, thank you. Vikas, can we learn something from the past?
Yes, absolutely. Look, all of our present day life and everything that we are experiencing in it actually has been created by the past. This is a simple logical understanding, but it's also a very deep wisdom understanding that my present is the result of all the choices I've made and the actions I've taken in the past. So my cumulative choices and actions, or the lack of them. You see, a no choice is a choice and a no action is an action. So the cumulative past is bringing me to the present moment. Now, I want to delve into something very deep here. And I want to say that, we are not the first time, this is not the first time that the world is going through a crisis, and we are not the first generation of people who are experiencing this crisis or questioning it. This has happened in human history for thousands of years, for millennia. So the ancients also questioned life, and they wanted to understand it, and they found the blueprint of life, and they gave it a Sanskrit term, which is called karma. And they said this term, karma, I will be using it very often, but understand it as the blueprint of life. They said karma is literally the law that makes life evolve, continue forward. So they called it the law of balance. And the first understanding of karma was that we must understand that we live in a world of principles. We live in a world of certain laws. If you do A, it leads to B. So I must live in balance. So karma can also be understood as a law of balance. So from the ancient times, the masters understood that we live in a world of interconnection and interdependence, not independence. I'll repeat that. It's very important for all our viewers and for the entire global population to understand this. We live in a world of interconnection and interdependence, not independence, which means that I am dependent on everything else around me. And you can see this in daily life. The air I breathe is produced by the trees that are around me. The food I eat is produced by the earth that is around me, nature around me. So everything that I am consuming is actually coming to me from nature around me. So that's interconnection and interdependence. But at the same time, others are dependent on me. So the trees are dependent on me, the oceans are dependent on me, the forests are dependent on me to keep them healthy. Just like they give me life, I must give them life. And the ancients said that when you break these laws of karma, when you upset this balance, then you're going against nature. And nature will bring itself back into balance because that is the nature of nature. It's the nature of nature to be in balance. It will bring itself back into balance. Nature does that when it explodes a volcano. When a volcano explodes or there's an earthquake, we call it a natural disaster. From our small perspective, we look at it and we say, oh my God, this is a disaster. But from the eyes of the planet Earth, it is not a disaster at all. It is a healing mechanism. A volcano bursting releases the pressure and it equalizes that pressure. And for the Earth, it is a healing mechanism. So what we call disaster, the Earth and the universe and nature calls healing and resolution and balance. And we need to understand. So my belief is, from a karmic perspective, that we have created these events by our own actions. And I can point out direct links on why we have done this. What was the cause and what we are experiencing now. So this is my perception. This is my perception and narrative on what is happening. It is definitely based on what we have created. And if we do not change our ways, we are going to have more pain. I want to just quickly remind our audience of the words of the Spanish philosopher, Carlos Santayana. And he said, those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. We have to learn what we did wrong in the past, and we must never forget that so we don't repeat it. Otherwise, we are going to repeat it and have the same problems and worse in the future.
And is that not a human thing? Of course, we are all going back in the past, and that we grow our fear for some reason. It goes far away in the past.
Yeah.
So, and do you think the nature is balancing themselves? So it's helping themselves?
Yeah, I mean, one way to figure out what we have done wrong, right? One way to figure out what we have done wrong is to just look at how do we solve crimes. If you look at the science of criminology, let's say there's a murder and there's a detective who wants to figure out who did the murder. The first thing they look for is motive. Who would have the motive to do this murder? And to figure out what the motive will be, they look at who has benefited from it. Now, if you take a look at what's happening now, let's call this a crisis, let's call this a disaster. Look at what's happening. Human beings are suffering. because we have been taken away from our normal life, from our regular, normal, accepted freedoms. We are in lockdown, we are in breakdowns, but we are living in fear and panic. People are afraid to go out. They are afraid to talk to their friends and hug the people they love. We are afraid to move out of their house. Our only sanctuary is our house. Now, who is benefiting from all this? Now, animals are benefiting. The rivers, the trees, nature, the oceans, all of wildlife is benefiting. So if you see the link, they are the ones who are benefiting and we are the ones who are suffering. So have they caused this for us? Now, if you look at karma, they haven't caused it directly, but nature itself has produced an element so that they could benefit and we would suffer. Well, why is this happening? Karma says, and this is a very ancient Sanskrit teaching, but it is the basis of all life. And I will repeat this. I will say this in Sanskrit and then I'll explain it in English. In Sanskrit, it is said, Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande. In very simple English, as is inside me, so is outside me. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. So the world that I create outside me is a direct reflection of what is happening inside me. If I'm living in a diseased world, in a world that is afflicted, out of balance, it is because I myself on the inside am diseased and out of balance. And so I bring out that and reflect it in the world outside me. So because I do not have balance or fulfillment, and I can't manage my own desires, I go out and I chop down millions of trees. I'm not saying this personally, I'm saying it for all humanity. And when I chop down all of those trees, I'm going against the laws of interdependence, interconnection. And so nature must balance itself out by pulling me away from that, right? And the way to pull me away from the actions that I'm doing is to put me into a situation when I can't do those actions. So a virus comes around and that virus helps me to stay at home under lockdown, by law, by force. So then I'm afraid to go out because I will die. The same thing that we did to the animals. We have, look around the world, what have we done? We have eradicated species from the planet. I mean, do we have a right to do that, to remove complete species from the planet? Would we like it if somebody else does that to us? So whatever we are doing to the world and doing to the animals and doing to the planet in a way is coming back to us, done to us by nature. A virus is a creation of the natural laws of life and balance and evolution.
Thank you so much. It's maybe a good connection with to Adjiedj. I shared this morning your short video about the future, and it's a video of end of 2018, and it shows what is all happening. So it's a video from the past, but for the future today. And I want to talk about the freedom that people have with you. How do you see that? Of course, now people don't have any freedom at the moment.
Well, you have to organize your freedom. But look, in the past 25 years, humanity has been doing, in terms of interconnectivity, we have done fine. Thanks to this magic mix of in the past 25 years, 1 billion people all over the world were able to leave poverty behind and enter the middle class. And thanks to a magic mix of capitalism, globalization, fossil fuels, open borders, free trade, and freedom, and the ability to share thoughts and ideas all over the world. In the old days, you could only share your ideas of innovation with the people in your village. Now you can share it with everybody all over the world. So we could speed up. But all this interconnectivity also means, in the old days, a virus erupted, let's say, somewhere in the south of India, and it stayed there because people did not travel much. Mm-hmm. Now we are traveling all over the world. Me too. All three of us, we travel so much all over the world. And of course, the viruses are traveling with us too. they are traveling to. So that is the reason why I think that globalization in the next couple of years will slow down. And I call this process slowbalization. Another thing is, my father-in-law lives in Israel, and he says Israel is a place where every day you can die because of terrorists with a bomb attack. So he says, I am investing in the quality of my life and in happiness every day. Every day I need to spend it well, and I need to be happy, to have a good meal, to have good wine, to have a good life, because I can be dead every day. And I think this virus is going to confront us with our mortality. We cannot wait to be happy after our retirement. We have to do it now, because we can die every day. So I think we are going to enter the economy of happiness. Maybe you could call it the happynomy, because that is going to become very important. Another thing is, we can shop very cheaply today thanks to this very long supply chains all over the world. And the long supply chains are going to be dismantled, because they never reckoned with countries closing their borders, or countries closing their harbors, or their airspace. Because, for example, an electric toothbrush has elements of parts of 25 countries, and you can buy it for $30 because it is produced so efficiently. But I think we are going to change that. We're going to get local supply chains and regional supply chains instead of the long global ones. That is an interesting one. Another thing is that, yes, of course, I agree with Vikas, we are interdependent. But in the past 25 years, many countries have become too dependent on China. And this virus came from China. And the same happened with SARS 20 years ago. And what we see now is that a lot of countries and a lot of companies want to be less dependent on China. So we are going to see the decoupling from China. And we are going to see companies moving their factories out of China. This trend is called reshoring. So a lot of factories will leave China and will move to other Asian countries, or move back to America or Europe. So that is very interesting. Interdependency is fine, but the balance was too much. Too many people, too many countries became dependent on one country, China. And that is what people are aware now. So people awareness is growing about what is going on, about what we live for, how we can organize interdependencies in a better way that is going to benefit all of us much better. I call that karma capitalism.
Karma capitalism, and that's what you like, of course, Vikas. We are all here to answer that question, that important question: is it karma or universal wisdom? With Adjiedj, of course, a lot of people all over the world are having fear, and now I'm thinking again. I use the example, of course, in Africa, what's happening. We don't see that much in the media, but we all know that a lot of hunger that was already a problem before the lockdown, but it's really getting worse. What do you think? What will be the solution of that problem? Because I still remember the first speech after Bill Clinton's presidency. It was through our agency in The Hague. And I still remember every word of that speech. We must more focus on Africa, and we must help the people there. What do you think about it, Adjiedj?
Well, of course, I work quite a lot in Nigeria, and I believe we should help people there. In sub-Saharan Africa, we expect hunger, we expect, but they should also help themselves. But don't forget, in Asia, there are also still many poor people, in Latin America as well. And we did fantastic in the past 25 years. 1 billion poor people left that behind. So in the next 25 years, we can help another 1 billion, maybe 2 billion people to leave poverty behind, to leave hunger behind, to leave starvation behind, and then to move on.
And
I am positive about the creative ideas of humanity.
Yeah, you shared in that video that I mentioned before that don't be afraid for the future, because the future it's always challenging, but it's always going to be okay, and a better world, of course. Connecting, of course, with the children. I think the children are very important. How do you think about that, Vikas? The link with children, because yeah, you are with Sally, the founder of Soul Kids. More people focus on the younger children, because I think, in my opinion, we need to have them for the future, to create that beautiful future for all of us.
Yes, Maurice, and I believe that the children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. So to every mother and father out there listening to us now, when you look at your son or your daughter, please realize this is not my son or daughter alone. This is a citizen of the future, and it could be the leader of my country, of my community, of my culture for the future. And that's how you should train them. Don't train them to get a job and live dependent on a paycheck. Train them, encourage them, inspire them, and empower them to have a message for the world. You know, Maurice, when you introduced me, you said, because you don't need an introduction. But I am not a speaker. I am a messenger. And that is what I want all of us to be, because I have a message about the importance of wisdom for the world now and for the world in the future. I'm a messenger of wisdom. And, you know, I love the term that Adjiedj used, you know, karma capitalism. My term is wisdom capitalism. You know, I call it wisdom capitalism because according to me, the current way of capitalism is not sustainable. This whole idea of more and more and more. And I train a lot of CEOs and big companies, and I tell them the same thing. And I'll explain it to us right now. So let's say you go into a company, you take a job in a company, you're given your KPIs. Let's say my KPI is to produce 100 units. And on that first year that I've taken the job, I work hard and I produce the KPIs. I do the 100 units. My boss is very happy with me. But once I've got the 100 units, can I relax? No, the next KPI now becomes that you can grow this by 20%. So now the next KPI is 120. That puts me under more stress, more pressure. But let's say I work very hard and I do 120. I've arrived, I've achieved my results. But can I relax? Can I be fulfilled? Because my next KPI is now going to be 120 plus 20%. So now I'm at 160, 170. And all along this way, all along this process, I'm losing my time, I'm losing my energy, I'm losing my effort. And this same process is playing out every day with countries and societies. We want to grow the GDP. We judge the success of a country, of a person, based on their achievements, on their GDP. And that is a wrong way to live because that puts us in a cycle of having infinite growth. And please understand, we all need to understand this, that infinite growth on a finite planet, okay? Infinite growth on a finite planet with finite resources is a formula for destruction. We will cut down our forests, we will burn our jungles, we will pollute the ocean, we will deforest the planet, we will make the species extinct because we don't know where we need to stop. Because we always are looking for more and more growth. We cannot relax. We live a life of struggle and stress. We disease ourselves. And this is a formula for destruction. And I just want to clarify, you know, I'm putting it to the world right now, but all our masters and the original people of the earth have known this. In fact, in ancient times in India, they said the greatest disease that we have, the greatest problem that we have, in ancient India, they described it as avidya. Avidya means a lack of wisdom, knowledge which is wrong, a lack of true knowledge, a lack of wisdom. So avidya is ignorance. And when the first conquerors, when the first conquistadors, the conquerors and the colonizers went into lands which were virgin lands, and they saw that they were populated by the indigenous people. And when the indigenous people saw how these white men were living, they said they have a disease. They didn't say they were bad men. They said these men have a disease, and they called the disease 𝒔𝒔𝒆𝒄. And 𝒔𝒔𝒄 is a disease, they said, which is a disease of the spirit, of the soul. And they don't know when to stop. So they will destroy everything and other people and nature to fulfill themselves. But they don't know when to stop. So in the end, they will destroy nature and in the bargain destroy themselves. And I see the world living in that same direction. So I want to train children. I want to train people, leaders, CEOs, people in power, governments, politicians, on not how to push capitalism forward, but how to push wisdom capitalism as the new way of governance and life.
Thank you. Do you know, I go back to Adjiedj. Do you think, talk about government, talk about the systems we use in education for children. How is your opinion on that? How can we make the first step to change your systems for a better future?
Well, the first step is reawakening. I recognize what Vikas is saying. I also speak a lot of these managers who are just only because their shareholders want them to make as much profit for the company as possible. So they are stressed and stressed and stressed. So they don't sleep well. They have to use alcohol and drugs in order to get themselves to speed themselves up. So that is really something that has to change, because this economy of more and more and more has to change in the economy of plenty, because there are plenty of opportunities. There are plenty of new resources to be used. So, for example, we are creating new raw materials now. We're going to do space mining. For example, I love diamonds, but recently they discovered a planet that is consisting all of diamonds. So if we will able to organize space travel to that planet, then we can have diamonds on all our fingers and toes. So we can enter the age of plenty, as I call it in my books. And we can also enter the post-material economy, the economy of happiness, the economy of what is relevant. Because now, especially with all this lockdown, we can really define who counts for us, our family, our friends, who counts and who doesn't count. And also at work, what counts and what doesn't count. So the new accountability will be a different one than in the old time and age. And of course, I agree with Vikas. We should not pollute that much. We should not cut off all the trees. If I see that with this biomass energy that the climate church is advocating, all these hundreds of trees which are cut down in Europe, in America, and everything. I mean, stop all of this biomass. It's ridiculous. Keep the forests intact. Keep them as they are. Plant more trees, and we should use gas and we should use nuclear energy, because that combination is going to give us plenty of energy, because we are going to need it. If we're going to stay more at home, we need the airco at home. So, and it all should be powered in ways that don't disrupt nature too much.
We are at a moment still in the present, of course. Talk about the planting trees. A few days ago, I connected with the founder of the Billions Trees movement, who is planting trees in the Amazon, because there's a big problem, of course, and we should all help them and share that story forward to plant trees in the Amazon, and that's the first step. What we can do at the moment, help the right movements. There are more movements in the world. Doing it different and doing it in a positive way to really add value to people and society.
Agreed, Maurice, but it starts with awareness. Have you seen the documentary of Michael Moore? And then you can see the reason it's Planet of the Humans. If you haven't seen it yet, please have a look at it. And then you see how the Green Church, how Greenpeace and all these other climate activists want us to cut the trees and to burn them instead of using gas. And so we are cutting millions and millions of trees all over. In this documentary, you can see it. And if people see what it is, then they can see that Greenpeace is a criminal organization.
Yeah,
I'm making friends again.
If Kim doesn't find the link, because there was not what we planned before for that, but we will look it up, and otherwise we will send the link after the webinar. Adjiedj, you also talk about, of course, we all must be the author of our own life story. That's what I learned from Vikas, of course. So we must commit to our own purpose and finding our own purpose, finding our story, of course. But you are talking, of course, for the people who struggle, there must be a way of a basic universal income.
Well, I think that every country will have to decide how they use the tax revenues to do it. Maybe it could be a kind of basic income like they have in Sweden. Maybe it could get that the government supports companies in order, or nationalizes companies, or supports company in order for jobs, because we need jobs, because otherwise we're going to get massive social unrest. So we need to help the losers of the future. It's in the interest of us in the middle class, it's in the interest of elites. If we don't support the losers of this crisis, we're going to pay a much higher price.
Yeah, thank you. Vikas. Please, it's the right time, of course, to ask questions in the chat, and Adjiedj and Vikas are very happy to answer them. So we have 45 more minutes for this webinar call. So please share your questions in the chat, and happy to answer you. So are we ready already for going to the future?
Yes, absolutely. I'm ready wherever you want to go, Maurice.
Sure.
Let's do that. How does the future look like when we take the right answers now in the present?
Yeah, I think the future is, it's going to be a very different future from what we are used to. And there is going to be a shift of a number of things. There's going to be a shift of power. So in my perception of the future, the governments are going to get more powerful. All around the world, the governments are going to retain more power. And the people as a general body, as a general citizenship, are going to be more devoid of power and freedoms. So there will be more regulations, there will be more restrictions. And because everything is becoming digital, there will also be more competition, according to me. I mean, we see this already. I have a team of 10 people that work with me, and actually only 2 of them are in Singapore, because, the rest are all working online, digitally, right? Even though they may have been in Singapore earlier. So we are living in a globalized world, but which is under lockdown in a way. As Adjiedj was pointing out, the nationalism is going to grow. Okay, so we are going to become less global in a physical sense, more in a digital sense, but we are going to become more national in terms of our own identity. And whenever a country becomes more national, it puts power into the hands of the leaders and of the politicians and of the governments. I also think there is going to be a massive shift in prosperity. So I think that the rich, in a way, will become even more prosperous in the times to come. And then, as Adjiedj was pointing out, that there is going to be this strata of people who will be right at the bottom. So I think that is bound to happen. It is inevitable. But what we have the choice to make, the authors that we are of our own life story, we have to decide where do we fit into the new world, and how do we fit in there. So what are the solutions? What are the strategies? I also see a world where human behavior will be a different behavior. And one thing that really troubles me is this lack of touch, right? I mean, at the moment, you cannot touch other people. You're even afraid of touching objects when you go out of your house. So literally, we are desensitizing the human being because the power of touch, the sense of touch, is our first touch as soon as we take life. You know, when a baby is in the mother's womb, out of all the senses, it is the sense of touch, which is the most intense and the most primary. When someone needs comforting, what do? We touch them, we hold them. When we want to get to know someone, what do? We touch them, we shake their hand. When you want to show affection to someone, what do? You stroke them, you caress them. If you have a dog, what do? You pet your dog. But now we are afraid of touching anything. So it is desensitizing us. Touch is life. And therefore, it is making us more robotic, more fearful, more panic, and less human-to-human contact and touch. So everything will change. Human behavior will change. And the way we work will change. Industries will change. Certain industries are going to go off the map.
But Vikas, the more, even with children, but I think with all humans, the more we tell people, don't do that, don't touch, the more you have the desire to touch people.
Maurice, no, I beg to differ. I agree with you and I disagree with you. So here's what I say. I say most people are not people. They are sheeple. You know my term, right? You know my term, sheeple, right? Most people are not people. They are sheeple. And sheeple are like sheep. They like to do what everyone else is doing. They like to do what they are told. Sheep need a shepherd. And they follow instructions. That's going to be 87% of the world. 3% of the world, 97% of the world, 3% of the world is going to be people like you mentioned. People like, if you tell me not to do something, I want to go try it. Do you follow? So I think the way to pivot on that is that you have to make your own choices about where do you fit in. Do you fit in into the 3% who are going to make sure this is a part of your life, or are you in the 97%, which is going to be a sheeple? My advice, don't be a sheeple.
Don't be a sheeple.
Don't be a sheeple. Touch is life. Life is touch. Don't ever lose your sense of touching and hugging and caressing and petting your pet or your child or your lover or your family. Never, ever. Hug your friends. It's part of your immune system. In fact, it strengthens your immune system when you hug more people. I think we have been, brainwashed in the last couple of months, many of us, that this is going to be harmful for your immune system. This is one of the ways that our immune system strengthens itself and develops.
This will be your new movement, Vikas, and I will join you. Don't be sheeple. Don't be sheeple. And I connect them with Adjiedj with two questions. I put them together. It's of course about leadership, about leading an organization. One question is, Greta, how can we help our leaders? My second question to that is do we have to change and create the new leaders? Can we change and help the leaders that are now in charge of today, or do we just they have to move and let's join the new?
Well, of course, I think it is a very fascinating time to be a leader now.
How do CEOs bring wisdom into their companies? I think that's two-way question. Adjiedj.
Okay. Well, I think it is a very challenging time to be a leader today. As a leader, of course, you should surround yourself with thought leaders and also with people who are thinking differently from yourself. Because, for example, if I see that the whole digital transformation that is taking place now, I see it, for example, with my own husband. He works in the insurance industry, and in the insurance industry, they did not like digitization. He has an office in London with 10 people, And he flew every Monday. He took the plane to London, every Thursday back, and then work at home. Now they can all do it, all of them work from home. They can all do it digitally. And now they all say, well, it is possible. Darlings, it has been possible for 10 years. The same in hospitals. Virtual consultancy, it has always been possible for 10 years. They did not want it. They did not want it. And now the leaders of hospitals are understanding it. So e-health is now also moving up. So that is an interesting thing. So it is going to be IT. So for all leaders, all their companies, all their enterprises they're running, it will be IT driven, but a lot of them don't know anything about IT, and most of the IT guys cannot explain it well enough so that the leaders understand it. So that need to be bridged. And also, yeah, of course, we are going to need money because the governments are pumping billions and billions now in the economy. One day we're going to have it back because there's no free money. So one day we have to pay it back. So I think taxes are going up. We are going to be taxed heavily in the next couple of years as well in order to pay for all of this. And I also agree with Vikas, governments are becoming bigger and more and stronger now, more than ever. But in the ASEAN countries like Singapore and in South Korea, the people trust their governments. But in Europe and also in America, there is a lot of distrust from people against their governments. So we don't want our governments to become bigger and more powerful. But on the other hand, many companies need the money from the government. So the governments are going to be stronger, but we as people, and that's also my message for leaders, empower the people to organize a lot of the things themselves so that
we lost connection a bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Please use the chat. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Maurice. Loud and clear. Adjiedj, keep talking. Keep talking, please.
I don't hear Maurice, but this, okay, I have to keep talking. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is about IT and about technology. So we have to learn it as well. So we have to, all of us, we have to learn 24/7. So we're living in a learning society, learning. And of course, we have to check our governments. We have to check what they are going to do with all this new power. So that's why I really believe in democracy. For China, for example, I also believe the Chinese government will be able to control all their people. I call this trend the Taiwanization of China. So they will need to get to enter these systems as well. People, we're not living in a time and age where people are just saying, okay, Mr. Minister or Mr. President or Mr. Prime Minister or Madam Prime Minister, whatever you say, we take it for granted. People are not going to take it for granted. They're going to research, they're going to check it all over the internet. But on the other hand, we're going to see that governments will become more totalitarian. Totalitarian systems are on the rise all over the world. And pharmaceutical companies are going to become very important, existing ones and also the startups. Don't forget that in crisis times like this, we're also going to see interesting startups. Alibaba started in China in the crisis of 2008. Amazon started in America in the crisis of the 1980s. Crisis times are wonderful times for entrepreneurs and for leaders. So this is the Chinese word for crisis consists of two characters. The first one is danger, the second one is opportunities. So leaders of enterprises should not only focus on the dangers, but also on the opportunities to invent and reinvent their companies and the products and the services they are selling.
Yes, I totally agree with you on this. Even from ancient wisdom, this concept of when destruction happens of something, right? Whenever something is destroyed, a system, an economy, a company, ecosystem, Whenever something is destroyed, it's also the birthplace of new creation. So destruction dovetails into creation. And of course, when something is created, eventually it comes back into destruction, because we all know that the greatest cause of death is life.
Right.
Because you're alive, death is bound to happen. So this moment of destruction, this period that we are going through, a period of destruction, is actually also a great period of resurgence and regeneration and the birth and the creation of new ideas, new startups, new concepts. I'm also of the opinion, just like Adjiedj, you said, I agree with you on that, that pharmaceutical industries, healthcare industries, telemedicine, health tech, I call it health tech, is going to be, it's going to be a new motherlode in a way. People are going to go there and they'll capitalize on that new trend. There's another trend which I see happening, and I want to see what is your view on that. And that trend is that science becomes the business. Yeah. So anything to do with science, research, finding a new solution, finding a new medicine, science itself becomes the business. So there are going to be startups, and there are going to be these visionaries who come in, who will be people of science. So they become the new CEOs, the new presidents of companies. So, the scientist becomes the billionaire. I see that happening. Science becomes the new business. What is your take on that?
That is a nice one, because you also, I think the person who is going to invent the vaccine or the medicines for corona is going to be a billionaire, and and that will be a scientist. Yes, of course, these are the things which are going to happen. But we have to organize our virus-proof living in the next couple of years, and we have to organize all this creativity to connect and to collaborate. So we have to find, and that is also my message for leaders and for leadership, create a coalition of the willing. Create a coalition of the willing, of positive people, of inspiring people who together can bundle their energy and their know-how and their resources in order to create the new businesses for the future.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, my message also aligns with this, right? Welcome back, Maurice. We have continued the conversation extremely well.
You don't need me, I guess.
But one thing I want to add to this, the new world that's coming. I think it's going to be a world where we need to have the right leaders, because I think leadership is going to evolve. And we need to, as I said, we need wisdom capitalism. We need people who are based in wisdom to become the new leaders, so that they have a sustainable view on the future. They have to understand that the actions that we take now, or the laws or the taxation that we put into place now, is going to have a consequence. A large part of wisdom is to anticipate the consequence, or to contemplate the consequence before you take the action now. So we don't want leaders who are reactive. We want leaders who are proactive. And we want leaders who are visionary people, right? People who are looking at consequences and possible futures before they take the actions today. In other words, no short-term thinking, no short-term action or strategy. We need to have a long-term vision and long-term strategy. Wisdom leaders, wisdom capitalism. This is the future for us.
And we have to do that together, because one of the questions of Dick is, can we really slow down the innovation powerhouse China to reduce the global interdependency of China? And why is it that such a requirement USA has taken that role for many decades? Is it democracy or autocracy? Global leadership by China still seems to be inevitable to me in the new world. Your opinions about that? Beautiful questions. Adjiedj.
Yeah, well, we cannot solve all the world problems and the power struggle between China and America in this short term of time. So let's focus on what is happening more. One of in the Middle Ages, we used to have the pest, And at the same time of the pest came and go. And so we had periods of it. At the same time, we had the Renaissance, because it spurred forward new ideas, and the new ideas and innovations, as Vikas was just saying. So I think this Corona era is going to speed up this new Renaissance. And I expect it, according to the astrologers, it should be July 2024. Then it's going to start. So we have 4 more years. And in the next 4 years, leadership should focus on this transformation of ideas, transformation of vision, transformation of business. And indeed, some businesses will die. Some companies will die. New ones will emerge. So we also should focus on education and re-education, because a lot of people who are losing their jobs today can use this time, this next couple of years, to re-educate or to educate themselves for new jobs. Because, for example, the IT industry will need millions of new people in the next couple of years. So get yourself an education. You can do it online, you can do it offline, to be ready for that future. If the global supply chains are going to change, and for example, we're going to get factories back in our own countries that will create jobs, of course, many will be robots as well. Robotization will go on. But the robots need to be manufactured, they need to be cleaned, they need to be... So there's lots of old jobs go, new jobs come.
Adjiedj, we talk about leadership, we talk about more jobs in IT industries, of course. In my life, I only focus on, with my children, on the human things of our children. Vikas, to answer the question of Dick, of course, with more humanity and that connection.
Yes, I think, the trends that Adjiedj is pointing out are correct. There will be more automation, more robotics. It's going to become the way of life. It's going to become the new normal. But I also feel that human to human interaction can never be taken away from the equation of life or the planet. Because what will be needed is cooperation and collaboration between world leaders. And that cannot happen through automation or robotics. It has to be one person looking at another person, eye to eye, face to face, talking from a place of authenticity, talking from a place of transparency, and then shaking hands on a deal. I think that's going to be the way that the world moves forward. And it will also work in reverse, where people cannot connect with each other, people cannot understand each other, people cannot trust each other. So the relationships break down, countries become enemies. According to me, the currency of the future is 2 things. From the masses, from the level of the masses, the currency of the future is attention. Attention is the currency of the future. But from the level of leadership, the currency of the future is trust. Trust is the currency of the future. If I trust you, I take you on your word. And you don't break my trust. We have a relationship, we have a friendship, we have a collaboration. But if you break my trust, we have no relationship, we have no collaboration. The currency of the future is going to be trust for leaders, and it is going to be attention for the masses. And please notice what has happened now. Because COVID-19 came in, the virus came in, suddenly the governments of all over the world, the governments of the country, they have the 100% attention of their people. So you see the masses, they've got their attention.
Yeah, and what are the most important values of us leaders that we should have in the future? I'm talking about okay, we are all looking for new leadership, new leadership. But when I speak with people, everybody's looking for their own leadership within them, within their inner strength. So how can we look for that one leadership? And maybe it's a connection, of course, with Anton's question: how do we get such a new leadership?
Yes.
Because
so my perspective on this is very simple, right? There's 4 ways that leadership can work. There's 4 ways, and these have come from ancient times to today. Let me explain what they are. The first way is the autocratic way. That's the autocratic way of leadership. The autocratic way is the dictator's way. I'm right, you're wrong. I know better than 1 million people. The autocratic way. The second way of leadership is the Socratic way, from Socrates, from ancient Greece. Right? So Socrates was a master, but his way, the Socratic way, was a way.
We have a little bit background music. Don't worry about it.
I forgot to turn on the sound. Sorry.
I think that might have been Socrates calling to tell you that make sure Vikas says the right thing. So the first way is the autocratic way, the dictator's way. I'm right, you're wrong. I know best. The second way is the way of Socrates, the Socratic way. The Socratic way is about questions and answers, right? Let's debate this to find the right solution. So that's what he would do. He would, as a teacher, debate with his students, question, answer, discussion, debates, and then come to a conclusion. The third way is the democratic way. So we have the autocratic, the Socratic, the democratic way. The democratic way is let's come to a consensus. Let's all decide what to do. And then the fourth way is based on merit. It's the meritocratic way. The meritocratic way says, let's find the best person to lead us. This is learned from nature. In nature, every animal you see, every species you see, if they are a tribe, if they are a group, if they are a herd, they will have a leader. If it's a pack of wolves, they have a leader. But who is the leader? The leader is the one most capable of taking the pack to sustainable evolution. So that is what I call my meritocratic leader. And that leader will be based on 2 things. One is their ability to empower their people, and the second is their ability of vision, which comes from a place of wisdom. So for me, that's the future leader. And those are the values that people will have to have. They will have to have a vision of combined growth, collaborative growth. So I grow and you must grow together with me. I must benefit my people, but I must also benefit you and your people. Let us grow together.
So for sure, less money driven.
Yes, and there's plenty of abundance to be had, but abundance has to be understood in its correct definition. Abundance is never about fulfilling our desires, because human desires can never be fulfilled. I have one of my clients who's a very successful business person, and he's been coaching with me for a couple of years. And he was running a $10 million business, and when he came in, I said, "What is your enough? When do you know that you can stop and relax?" And he said, "Well, maybe 5 million more." Right? I said, "Okay, 15 million is good." We arrived at 15 million. Guess what happened?
Yeah.
He said, no, it's not enough. Times have changed. I need another 5. Till, of course, I could bring him to the place and the understanding and the wisdom that it's never going to be enough when you base it on a dollar figure. Real abundance is about a mindset. It's about a lifestyle. It's about a way of living. In fact, when we come from scarcity, we always want to have more and more and more in the external world. So real abundance is possible when we train our minds, and that is the biggest problem for our future. The virus is not the problem of the earth. Deforestation is not the problem of the earth. Global warming is not the problem of the earth. Polluting the oceans is not the problem of the earth. The problem of the earth is human beings. And the problem of the earth is the mindset of human beings. Till we change that, there is no sustainable solution.
Before there was money and connected that then to us, what should be the new standard for all of us?
In terms of money?
Is it money, or is it, of course, we as human beings, we want to challenge ourselves.
It's a great question, Maurice. It's a great question, but money is never the purpose of life. Money is just a means to an end. All money is a means to an end. But what is the end? The end is a good life. And what is a good life? A good life is a life that is happy and it's joyful and it's fulfilled. So if earning money helps me to live a good life, that's great. There's nothing wrong with money. But if money is getting me stressed out, if money is making me lose my relationships and my health, if money is taking away my sleep, then money is the wrong relationship. It has the wrong relationship with me. Again, money is not the problem. The problem is my own mindset about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, it's still integrated in our human beings. Huh? You are born, you go to school, you work for money. Nowadays, of course, people have fear. Maybe some people already lost their jobs, maybe lost their own company. I'm working in the event speaking industry, so no revenue, no income, but for me, exactly, what I learn is that I have time to fulfill my mission in life. And that's connecting inspiring stories and share that to the world. So, yeah.
And look, Maurice, you're absolutely right. We need money to live the lifestyle that we choose, right? So if I want a lifestyle of this level, I need money for that lifestyle. But if I want a lifestyle of this level, then I need less money. So that is the choice all human beings have to make. What kind of a lifestyle do I want to live? And how much money will I need to fund it? But please remember, the higher you make your lifestyle, you will still need to train your mind to say that is enough. Because, $1 million 10 years ago is not $1 million today.
Mm-hmm.
Because of inflation, because of devaluation, because of the cost of goods going up, that $1 million has now become closer to $600,000. In other words, when I say I want this lifestyle, every year I will have to do more and more and more to maintain that lifestyle. So the first thing we have to do is to define the kind of person I want to be and the kind of life I want to live as an individual. And I think leaders have to do this as a country, because there are countries in this world who don't base their success on GDP. They base their success on the happiness quotient of the citizens. We have countries like that. We have countries who base it on the health that they can provide to their citizens. It's not based on just the money. You can so the last line I want to say is this, right? We must never judge a person by the size of their bank account. The size of the bank account doesn't tell you the size or the stature of the person. And when we do the same for countries, we make the biggest mistake, just like we do for individuals.
Yeah, and of course, we talk about, we are looking for our commitment to our own life story, the purpose. But you are already told about collaboration. We must more collaborate, because we cannot do it alone. And we cannot find it in our own country. Please connect with the world. Adjiedj, you would like to integrate in the story of Vikas?
Yeah, well, I just have one question to Vikas. I think it is Bhutan that is defining this economy of happiness, isn't it? And I think
yes, that's
the French government also wanted it.
Yes, that is correct. And it takes, Adjiedj, you're absolutely right, but it takes a visionary leader to step forward and say, this is how I want to define our country and our people. Right? I'm sure a lot of countries would want to do it, but of course, the hardest thing to do is to create change from a system that has been accepted for 50, 100 years.
Very good. Because all of this fits in what I call in my books the emotional revolution. Because we are living in in the era of the emotional revolution. Because a lot of things that are rational and pragmatic are taken over by computers and by artificial intelligence. So what's left for us as humans is emotions. And that fits also with what Vikas just said, touching and hugging, because we are mammals. We are just like our dogs. We like to touch other humans. We like to connect, to hug, to feel each other's energy. So in the era of the emotional revolution, that is going to become much more important than it was in the past 50 years, because the rational things that we need to do is taken over by artificial intelligence, by the computers and the robots. So we have time and energy enough for that. for friendships, for connecting with other people, for love, for sex, because we forgot it. We were too busy. We were too busy to spend time with our family and friends. So now we're going to do that.
Can I make the conclusion then that that should be the new standard, love and friendship?
Yeah. And the economy of happiness, I call it happinomy. And in India, they said that we are now living in the age of Kali, and Kali is the goddess of war, and that this age of Kali is now nearing its end. So at the end of the age of Kali, will hopefully be more peaceful, and we will fight less wars with each other.
Nice.
But on the other hand, there is one trend that is forever. Men love wars and women love soldiers.
Adjiedj, I want to come back to the family, of course. Now at the moment, we are. I'm as a father with my children, with a wife who normally is flying. A lot of families suffer. I already heard a lot of divorces. And here's a question about the family, Tejal. How do you lead our family in this time? How do we become good leaders for our family? I think it's a great question. Adjiedj.
Well, then if you want to be a great leader of your family, that's a difficult one. I think you'd better give that to Vikas. I don't have children. I want a dog, but my husband doesn't want dogs. But so I only have my husband to manage, but he says that he wants to manage me as well. So that's the difficulty when you have a household of two men.
Because
yeah, I have thousands of children, Adjiedj, because I run a program called Soul Kids, and we train so many children in the program on how to be good human beings and also good leaders for their own life and for others. So it's very simple, Maurice. According to me, how should we be living in a family or leading a family during these times, especially? I want to start by telling you that cases of domestic abuse and breakups, divorces, have literally skyrocketed since the lockdown started to happen, right? And why is this? It is because the two people who are living together, or the people who are the mother and father in the family, the adults in the family, are often not the right people for each other. You see, when you're right for each other, you can live together for as long as is needed, give each other space, understand each other, engage and disengage from each other, because we all need that space and that silence. But we also all need that sensory engagement and stimulation. So we need the conversation. We need no conversation. I need to engage. I need to disengage. And when two people are correct, they have that understanding, they develop that understanding. So they learn to manage themselves before they can manage the relationship. All management starts with self-management. All leadership starts with self-leadership. So now what has happened, because people are in lockdown, and depending on how severe the lockdown was, some people are together 24/7 for 2 months.
Yeah. So
literally you're stepping over each other, you're on each other's toes, you cannot let an argument go, and therefore all the frustration and then the fighting and then, in extreme cases, the abuse. So it is literally bringing the truth of the people in front of them. I have a very nice metaphor that I use, and I say that when you take an orange and you squeeze it, the juice that's inside the orange comes out. So the juice of the orange is released when the orange is squeezed. In other words, it means that what's really inside you comes out when life squeezes you. And we have to make sure that what's inside us is the right thing. So how do we become good fathers and good mothers and good leaders for our own family? We begin to be that by step 1, managing myself and my habits and my behavior while I'm with my wife or my kids or my family, my husband, whoever it may be. I manage myself more than I manage them. Number two, I come from a place of care and compassion for them. Number three, I am also compassionate to myself, because the Buddha said it so beautifully. He said, you must be compassionate for the whole world, but never forget that includes you too. I'm paraphrasing. So if I need some quiet time, I need to be able to tell my wife or my husband or my kids that, okay, you need to leave me alone for about 1 hour. I need to meditate. I need to do some reading. I need to connect to myself. But at the same time, I should also come from a place of care and compassion for them. It's very easy.
Maybe I can add to this, Vikas, that the point of leadership today is that you have, of course, a lot of people are struggling to get to day. I see it with the lady who cleans our house. She and her family are struggling to do every day, to survive every day, to have enough money to feed their kids, etc. So it's a different situation than from us middle-class people who don't have that. So for leadership in the future, it will be on day-to-day basis and also on the vision for the next era, and that is very difficult. It's very complicated. So I advise people to sleep well, to invest in sleeping well, in meditating, in praying, to take some time for yourself. Sometimes you get better ideas by staring for an hour out of the window than from sitting at your computer typing again. So also take some rest, also take some peace of mind.
And to connect you with that, how should be the new working place look like? We are now working from home, and I guess a lot of people don't like to go back to the office again, where it's that same world again. They are afraid of that world. So what's happening? Do leaders believe in the new situation that maybe you can better work from home more efficiently, more?
Well, I think working from home will, of course, be part of the future work. But I saw a study of one of the big real estate agencies in Britain, JLL, and they say that the market for office space is going to go down because a lot of people, a lot of companies will prefer their people to work from home. But on the other hand, many homes are not fit from working from home. So people don't have the right chairs, the right furniture. They're just working on the laptop, on the sofa, or what, so they get backaches or other things. So we need to reorganize homes in a brilliant way to adapt to this time and age. So that is also one of the things that we are going to see. And one of the biggest issues today in the world is loneliness. In Holland, 1 in 3 people call themselves lonely. So meeting other people, like for example at the office or otherwise, is a way to deal with loneliness. So they miss their colleagues because they feel also like a part of their family, or I call them family, a family of friends. So that is also happening. So in England, the UK, they have a minister for loneliness. In Holland, our Minister of Healthcare also himself as the minister who is fighting against loneliness.
Adjiedj Bakas is telling when we should make the head office the home office.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
I like it. So it should be. So we have to transform the offices more like a home and meeting place. Is that what you're?
But Maurice, that has one disadvantage. Now we cannot. I love shoes. But it doesn't matter what kind of shoes you're wearing then, because everybody is walking now on. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, only the top has to look fine.
I think I want to say that this time of the last couple of months has also made people really realize how much they need in their life. right? I have a friend and he wrote me a very nice message and he loves watches. He loves watches. And he said, Vikas, I've realized that I have 8 very expensive watches sitting on my table in my bedroom. And I haven't used one of them in the last 2 months.
Well,
because you're not going to wear your watch and walk around in your own home to show anyone, right? Because nobody is looking. So every time you look at it, it actually says, why did I spend so much money on this watch? Ajit is showing us the watch now because he's on the webinar, but otherwise.
Your friend can give his watches to me. That's very good. It's good for his karma.
Yes.
Can I share you both a story? I'm not wearing a watch, and I was walking with the dog with one of my children, and at a certain time I thought, I will ask Sergey, that's his name, where is time coming from, and why does the day start at midnight and not when the sun is rising? And we both did not know where time is coming from. I mean, who invented the time? So we went back into our house, and I teach my children, you can everything find or ask Google. We have a Google home at home. So during the dinner, the question raised, who was the inventor of time? Do you know that, Ajit? Who was that?
I don't know, but in America we say God gave white people the clock and black people the time.
Yeah, but because
but I don't know if that is true. But another thing I want to
let me answer the question.
Is you work from home, don't walk around in jogging pants all the time. Dress yourself up, also for your partner, also for everybody else. Dress yourself up, wear your jewels, wear your good clothes, not only in jogging pants. That's not sexy.
Yeah. But to answer the question, Christian Huygens, the Dutch guy, invented the time. So we must be proud of that. We are the last 5 minutes of our webinar, and
Maurice, I wanted to touch upon the point you made earlier, right? That there's going to be a lot of challenges on mental health, and people also, Ajit said that they are going to be very stressed out, right? Going back to work. And I'm actually predicting that there is going to be a mental health tsunami that's coming to us. In fact, it's already here, and we will see this. When all the lockdowns ease up and people get back to work, there is going to be so many cases of mental health challenges and problems and breakdowns. It's really going to be like a tsunami that's going to hit the world. So more and more meditation, mindfulness, wisdom, any practices that help you to manage your mind is going to be a very big thing. I teach meditation, I teach mindfulness, I train teachers to teach that, and I'm telling the whole world, you have to learn meditation and mindfulness, and you have to learn some way of managing your own mind, because otherwise you're going to be hit by this mental health tsunami.
And you recently, launched a program, Karma program. Tell me more about that.
Yes, because karma is the most important thing we need to understand. From a basis of wisdom, if you want to live your life as a successful, sustainable human being, if you want to have happy relationships, if you want to live a life of no struggle and stress, you need to understand the concept of karma. So that's why I taught a masterclass on karma. It's one of the most confusing and misunderstood topics. And I collected a group of about 40 people from around the world, and they flew in and I taught them the advanced training on karma. And then we decided that as a service to the world, we want the world to wake up and be educated in the right way to live. We put it together as an online program, and we recently launched it. Karma is the blueprint of life. Karma is the shortcut to living a life of sustainable success. And I want everyone in the world to learn karma.
Beautiful. And if people are interested, maybe Kim can share the link, or we also do that after the webinar, where they can sign up for your program, because
absolutely
join that program. It's much needed, and that's the point. Of course, we cannot do it alone. We are human beings with a background, and we need each other to connect and to keep on learning. Not just in childhood, but keep on learning and focus on and commit to your own story.
Maurice, maybe I can add that in order to learn, we should use all ways of learning. You don't learn only in a classroom with a teacher. You learn today on YouTube. You learn from books. You learn from everywhere else, and also be aware of the fact we have 4 years. In the July 2024, the new Renaissance is going to start. So we have 4 years to re-educate, to reframe, to reinvent ourselves, to meditate, to do all of this. And to do it, and let's use it, and then this new Renaissance is going to be brilliant. And of course, the virus is going to go and it's going to come back. So we're going to learn to live from lockdown to lockdown, and if we are aware of the fact that we could die every day, I think quality of life, the quality of every day of your life is going to become much more important. So don't postpone too much to tomorrow or the day after or till after you're retired. Enjoy life now. Enjoy it today, because this virus could kill us all every day.
Beautiful words to end with, of course. Vikas, maybe some last words from you.
We are the authors of our own life story, and we must create a future out of choice, not by chance. We have to create a future by our own design, not by default. So come from a place of wisdom and take the actions that will create the future that you desire for yourself, because you are the author of your own life story. Yeah. We are here to help you. People like Adjiedj, I am here to help you. Maurice is here to help you. Reach out to us and let us help you to create the future that brings you sustainable success.
Wonderful. And if maybe you could put the link of the book, The New Renaissance, of the video, The New Renaissance, on to share it with everybody.
Jim already did in the beginning. So yeah.
Perfect. And I'll send you the link for the Karma program, Maurice, as you said. Then you can put that.
Very good.
Yeah, and you're also doing some inspiring videos, Vikas, every day.
Yeah, I actually created a group. I created a set of training, 25 videos on how people can go through these crises, and I decided to offer them free for the whole world. You know, it was a program that was earlier sold at $1997, and then during the crisis, I decided we are going to make it absolutely free for the whole world. So if you want that program, if you're listening to do this webinar and you want the Calm in the Storm series, Maurice will put on a link. You know, just put your email there. We are happy to give you the program so that you can go through this crisis with calmness and happiness.
It's already in the chat, Vikas, the link to that program. And please pay it forward. Pay those stories of Vikas forward. And please stay engaged with us. We have to do it together. Thank you, Adjiedj. Thank you, Vikas, for having you in this webinar. And for sure, it will be not for you, Adjiedj. It was the second time. For Vikas, it is the first time. Altogether, it's our 11th time. I'm inviting you already for our next Power webinars next week. It will be the Power of Your Stories week. So we go in. We fly over to Ireland. Yeah, we are not allowed to fly. Maybe next week, we never know. But we come to the master storyteller, Paul Hughes, who's helping us to find our own true story. That will be on Tuesday at 10 a.m., same time as now. And on Thursday, it will be a big happening, the digital day. That will be with 3 sessions. We have an avatar session. We have what do we have else? Power story session again. And the last session, we bring Australia with Sarur Brearley of the movie, the truth person behind the movie Lion, together with the lookalike of Obama. They also have a beautiful life story. What can we learn from them in time of changes? Vikas, thank you so much. Adjiedj, thank you so much. I think he had to pick up the phone.
There he is.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you all over the world.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Adjiedj. Great to connect. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.